Hello everyone, I'm Joe Session. Welcome back to the channel. Today I've got something a bit special for you. 3 jazz vinyl records I recently picked up during a crate digging session at one of my local record stores. These aren't just any records, they're albums I've had my eye on for a while, each with its own story, vibe, and place in jazz history. Throughout this video, I'll walk you through each of the albums in depth, what drew me to them, what to listen out for, and a bit of background on the artists and recordings, and of course why they might be worth having in your collection. So if you're into jazz vinyl or just curious about 3 interesting entries into a jazz collection, stick around. The good stuff starts now. Let's start with the first album, Germs by Joe Farrell, released in 1973. I found this one recently, and since it's a standout in the CTI catalogue, it jumped off the shelf straight away. It was recorded at the famed Van Gelder studio in Englewood Cliffs, New Jersey in 1972 and was released on CTI Records in 1973. This one has a heavyweight lineup. You've got Joe Farrell on the soprano sax and flute, Herbie Hancock is on the electric pianos, you've got Jack DeJohnette on the drums, and then Stanley Clarke on bass. The album was produced by Creed Taylor and the engineer was Rudy Van Gelder. The album blends post-bop and jazz fusion textures. So while it isn't full-on wild fusion, it has electric piano, strong grooves, and it's a bit more adventurous than your standard acoustic jazz quartet. There are a few reasons why this album appealed to me. Firstly, Joe Farrell is sometimes overshadowed in jazz discussions, yet his work in the early 70s, especially on the CTI label, is very strong. Secondly, the lineup is stellar. Hancock, Clarke, and DeJohnette are heavy hitters. Third, the vibe of this album is somewhere between accessible groove and serious jazz improvisation. Perfect for both listening sessions and spinning on vinyl with a good sound system. My favourite track on this album is the title track Germs. It's tight, the groove locks in, and the soloing gives you that space to appreciate Farrell's tone and phrasing. When you're listening, pay attention to how Farrell's soprano sax weaves with the rhythm section, and how Clarke's bass and DeJohnette's drums push and pull the time in a slightly elastic way. The electric piano adds colour but never overwhelms. Elsewhere on the album, the opening track, Great George, really does set the tone. Strong groove, almost modal in parts, and Farrell stretching out. Bass folk song gives Clarke a chance to shine, and the interplay between the musicians on that track is really nice. If you have a good copy, this album will sound beautifully dynamic on vinyl. The CTI production and the Van Gelder engineering give it a nice warm feel. When I was looking through the records at the store, I pulled this one out, I saw the CTI label, I saw that crazy looking eyeball, and I just had to pick it up. And coincidentally, I'd actually been listening to this album a few days prior. And I don't know about you, but sometimes I see that as a bit of a sign to pick it up. Now, the second album is a bit of a different beast. Black Codes from the Underground by Wynton Marsalis, released in 1985. This album signals a young musician with deep respect for jazz tradition, but pushing forward. The album was released in 1985 on Columbia Records. Alongside Wynton Marsalis on the trumpet is Branford Marsalis on the tenor and soprano saxophone, Kenny Kirkland on piano, Sharnette Moffett on double bass, and Jeff Tane Watts on the drums. Also on one track, Ron Carter appears on bass. The album won 2 Grammy Awards in 1986, one for Best Instrumental Jazz Performance, Individual or Group, and one for Best Jazz Instrumental Performance by a Soloist. The musical style of this album is post-bop with modern leanings, but firmly grounded in acoustic jazz traditions rather than fusion. Why did I pick this up? Because I believe it's a staple in a modern jazz vinyl collection for several reasons. It captures Wynton Marsalis at an important point where he was bridging tradition and innovation. The ensemble is tight and the performances are strong, and on vinyl it has a solid sound. For someone like me who enjoys digging records that have strong musical content and collector value, this one ticked a lot of boxes. My favourite track is Delfio's Dilemma. The title is a nod to Wynton's brother Delfio Marsalis, and musically the piece gives the band room to stretch. Notice the interplay between Wynton and Branford on the horns, how the rhythm section locks in but still breathes, and how the arrangement gives you headspace and solo space. This album marked something of a statement in the mid-80s jazz scene. Acoustic instrumentation, serious compositions, young lions emerging, and it still holds up. This is one of those albums that seems to keep its value and reputation over time. For someone who digs jazz vinyl, finding a clean copy of this one is a win. Last but certainly not least, we have the album An Evening with Herbie Hancock and Chick Corea in concert. This one was recorded and released in 1978. The thing I like about this one is that it's very different to the other two albums that I've mentioned in this video. It's live, it's duo piano, and it features two giants of jazz. The album features performances from February of 1978 on a tour with Herbie Hancock and Chick Corea, where they were both playing acoustic pianos together. It's a double LP and it was released on Columbia. The interesting thing about this album audio-wise is that Hancock appears on the left channel and Corea appears on the right, which creates a unique stereo experience. The final side of the original LP, side 4, compresses a 13-minute version of Maiden Voyage and a nearly 22-minute version of La Fiesta onto one side, which slightly impacted the sound quality. However, I believe this only affected vinyl versions of the album and not audio CD versions. The reason why I picked this album up is because it offers something truly special. A live duo format of two pianists who are both masters, stepping away from electric jazz fusion and doing something more acoustic, more intimate. For vinyl collectors and jazz fans, this kind of encounter is a gem. On top of that, I love the track Maiden Voyage, which is my favorite track from this album. In this setting, it unfolds beautifully. Speaking more on Maiden Voyage, the piece is originally a Herbie Hancock composition from his 1965 album named Maiden Voyage. In this live setting with Chick Corea, it takes on new life. The dual pianos, the space, the shared musical dialogue. When you listen, pay attention to how the two pianists respond to each other, how one may lay down a motif and the other picks it up, how rhythms evolve, how there is both soloing and interplay. It's less about groove and more about conversation, which makes it very compelling on a good vinyl system. I'm really happy to have found this record. It felt really rewarding at the time. If you're a fan of jazz piano, this is definitely an album that you will revisit again and again. So there you have it, 3 jazz vinyl albums that span different decades, different styles, and different kinds of performances. 1 studio quartet record with electric touches, 1 modern acoustic champion, and 1 live duo piano encounter between legends. Each one brings something unique to the table and is worthy of being in a jazz vinyl collection. If I had to pick a top pick among the 3, it would depend on the mood. If you want groove and fusion leanings, go with Moon Germs. If you want tight post-bop with high energy, go with Black Codes. And if you want introspective, expansive piano dialogue, go with the Hancock Corea live set. But honestly, all 3 deliver, especially on vinyl. The format gives depth, presence, and that analog warmth. If you've managed to dig up some vinyl gems recently, drop a comment below. I'd love to hear about your recent finds. What albums are you most excited about? Also, if you have any of the free albums that I've mentioned in this video, drop your thoughts on these albums in the comments. I'd love to know what you think. If you enjoyed the video, please click the like button. It really does help the channel. And also make sure you subscribe to the channel so that you stay up to date with my latest uploads. If you want to continue hanging out here with me on the channel, I'll put a video in the corner for you to click on now. Other than that, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.